Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to cover some of the basics of AgilePoint NX webhooks feature. Event-based architecture has been one of the core strengths of AgilePoint over the years. AgilePoint engine uses a publisher-subscriber mechanism, and for every action that takes place on the AgilePoint engine, an event is raised which can be subscribed to take additional actions or even override default engine behavior. Traditionally, this is done using Agile Connector, which is one of the core pillars of AgilePoint's extension framework. Though using Agile Connector is a very strong feature, it means you need to have a .NET developer to write server-side implementation of this module and also need access to the AgilePoint server to deploy the new Agile Connector. Also, the logic will have to reside inside the Agile Connector itself, which is executed on the AgilePoint server. This might mean duplicate effort at times, especially if that logic already resided outside of AgilePoint system. Agile Connector is still a preferred event-based extension feature due to the fact that it runs within the context of AgilePoint engine and is easier to develop using AgilePoint Developer SDK. However, since it needs server-side deployment, this option is available for on-premises and private cloud customers only, which means there is no mechanism for on-demand customers to listen to AgilePoint engine events and take additional actions outside of AgilePoint. With AgilePoint NX 7.0 SU2, we are introducing the concept of webhooks in AgilePoint, whereby just using your browser, you can configure the AgilePoint engine event to be sent to a web service endpoint, which is hosted outside of AgilePoint, and that service can take additional actions. With the introduction of webhooks, even AgilePoint on-demand customers can listen to AgilePoint engine events and take additional actions. Moreover, this developer need not be a .NET developer, though it can be a special significance for on-demand customers. It is equally important for on-premises and private cloud customers as well, because they can now leverage non-.NET developer skill set to build extensions and also leverage existing code which resides outside of AgilePoint. So let's see how this works. So if you go to Manage Center, go to System, you would see under there is a new action called webhooks. Over here you will see right now I have no webhooks configured. I can create a new webhook, but first I'll talk about these two settings. If your services are expecting some kind of common headers to be passed, you can define those common headers over here. The manage secret key setting, this is for security. So with every payload message which we send out of AgilePoint engine, we calculate a hash of that and include it in the header. Now, if your service wants to just validate that the message is coming from AgilePoint server, they can have this key. They can copy this key out. They can have it in their program. They calculate the hash again using the payload on their side, and they can compare the two hashes if they are same or not. This is optional though. It is whether you want to implement additional security on your service side or not. Let's look at how to create a webhook. So this is the screen. I'll just say this is invoice event. I can give it a nice looking name. I can specify what is the URL of my web service where this payload has to be sent when a particular event takes place. By default, it is on. I can disable it as well. Now, there are two kinds of events we can listen to: workflow or workflow instance related events, or access control based. So if I select this one, it shows me all the process instance based events like when the workflow is started, suspended, completed, cancelled, or task related ones like when a task is assigned or cancelled or created or reassigned, or email notification ones. Or I can have events related to whether when a new user is added or removed, when a group is created or a role is created, so you can listen to those events. For today's demo, I'm going to listen to the process instance started event. Next, it would ask me for which applications do I want to listen to this event. Now I can go for a wildcard as well and say that, okay, and it gives you the wildcard syntax over here. So I can have this event listen for all the apps which start with a particular name, or I can specify a particular app as well. I can do the same for process model or process instance level. For today's demo, I'm going to use one of my existing application over here. Now let's look at advanced as well. Advanced settings, they let me specify whether this will be active always or it will be active for a particular period of time only. Also, I can specify specific headers. So common headers would always be sent, but I would specify my web service specific headers over here. Let's go ahead and click add webhook. So as you can see, the webhook has been added. I can always edit it, delete it, or mark it as disabled from here. Now for today's demo, I just used a very simple test page. I have this test application which is hosted outside. Let me refresh it. If you see, it says total number of invoices submitted is 4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to submit a new request and come back to this page, and you can see that the number got incremented. So what's happening behind the scene is when the new instance got created, it sent that payload to my custom web service. All it is doing is it is incrementing this number. Now you can of course do a lot more with it by inserting data into some third-party systems or take some additional actions. I'm going to go here to my applications. I'm going to look for my application over here. And I'm going to go ahead and click submit. If I go back to my home page, you see now the number of invoices has increased. Let's do it one more time. And as you can see, the number of invoice keeps increasing. Now let's initiate some other workflow. Say this one. And click submit. So as you can see, the number did not increase because I was listening only to that invoice processing workflow. So that's how the webhook feature actually passes the message payload to you, passes the event payload to you, and then you can take your application specific actions outside of AgilePoint as well. Thanks a lot for your time.